Maybe that's the real punk rock.
At this time, is it safe to say that James Gunn is the greatest comic book movie director of all time? Like, sure, you have your Christopher Nolans and whatnot. Sam Raimi is my favorite director to have made a tentpole superhero movie, and the movies he made are my favorites. But the prolific nature of Gunn's filmography at this point speaks for itself. 3 Guardians of the Galaxy movies for Marvel, a Suicide Squad and a Superman movie, and 2 seasons of Peacemaker for DC, all of which he wrote and directed. Oh, and he also wrote all 7 episodes of Creature Commandos for DC, which I haven't seen myself, but I've heard good things. James Gunn's rise and fall and rise again is so interesting to me because of how organic it feels. And while we can never know exactly what's going on in those coke-dusted Hollywood boardrooms, it ultimately comes down to the simple fact that he made a highly successful movie with obscure characters, brought his own style and taste that I think infiltrated pop culture in a more significant way than most Marvel movies, and he just kept doing it until he got to the top. He was such an unlikely figure. He was mostly known for movies he wrote but didn't direct, namely Scooby-Doo and Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead remake. The movies he did direct certainly have their fans, but they didn't really set the world on fire. Most interestingly, in Gunn's career, he got his start working with Lloyd Kaufman and Troma Entertainment, which is a studio essentially whose entire purpose is to make shockingly absurd and crude B-movies. It's not hard to imagine why Kevin Feige and Marvel were looking for someone who's a little offbeat to do Guardians of the Galaxy, since those characters are not really typical superheroes. James Gunn has told the story many times of how he was brought in to meet with Marvel about possibly directing Guardians, and he was initially apprehensive, both because he didn't really expect someone like himself to be seriously allowed to have the reins on such a big budget franchise movie, and he himself was not even sure that it was a story he wanted to tell in the first place. That is until, on his way home from the meeting, the potential of Rocket Raccoon started to reveal itself to him.
I'm in the car and I'm like, all right, so it's about a talking raccoon. I'm like, that's could be silly. I'm like, but what would be the circumstances if it was real? And it just came to me that if it was real, that raccoon would be the saddest creature in the entire universe, and that he would feel utterly and completely alone and have a very difficult time in life. That to me was the beginning of Guardians.
This moment he had imagining Rocket Raccoon is the spark that ignited the whole Guardians trilogy, and is such a perfect encapsulation of what I love so much about Gunn as a writer, a storyteller. Everything he's done is in some way or another ultimately about pain, how it scars, how it shapes people, how it suffocates their best qualities, forcing them to retreat into their worst selves at their own expense in every relationship that they have. It comes from a real place. It's a projection of thoughts and feelings and moments of his own experiences. There's always an element of a dysfunctional family dynamic, whether it be found family or biological. There's always a complicated parental relationship. These tropes of his writing are no more a thematic crutch than they are the reason why these movies exist at all. Regardless of if we were watching or not, regardless of if it had several $100 million to be told, this story would still exist, and I love that they have been injected into these big budget movies.
And I honestly felt like I was created in a lab. I was grown in a petri dish to make Guardians of the Galaxy.
Don't ask any questions about why I'm up here. Watch till the end of the video for a explanation. But if you're enjoying this video, hit subscribe, leave a comment about how you feel about James Gunn, Peacemaker, Guardians of the Galaxy, Superman, the state of superhero movies in general, and, stick around. I hope you're enjoying the video. The depth offered up by these characters on a conceptual level are truly rich enough to be the narrative motor for some super serious indie darling drama picture. You would think that since he cares so deeply about his characters that he would treat it delicately and with respect, but he doesn't exactly do that. James Gunn's movies are loud and colorful and bombastic. The characters often act crude and immature. The dramatic reason for this is that his characters are often emotionally immature or in some state of arrested development, but frankly I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that I think he just finds making stuff like this fun. His sets are known for being fun environments. He fully embraces the wacky lore and designs of the comic books his movies are based on. He lets villains ham it up. His films are not trying to convince you that they're realistic. They invite you in on the fun, the silliness, the hammed up gravitas. The humor particularly makes his movies seem lowbrow on the surface, which prevents them from being too heady and depressing, but it truly does reflect the material on a deeper level. His stories are about people who project stupidity, vulgarity, and violence because they're covering for something, hiding themselves to protect their broken hearts. And once you peel that back, you get this ocean of humanity. No, this is not a balancing act he always handles perfectly. In fact, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, while being my favorite thing he's ever made, suffers from a few instances of him laying on the humor too thick. Your tolerance for his style of writing humor will determine how much mileage you get out of his work. I've seen some people online get so strangely combative about this to prove they're too smart to enjoy these movies because of the humor, but what are you gonna do? The way Gunn adjusted his skill set as a writer to make a fresh and compelling version of Superman was by stripping away the more traumatic elements of his typical characters. Superman is the one who's supposed to save us after all. He's the firm, smiling pillar. But he allows Clark Kent to be sincerely dorky. He still has to learn to navigate relationships. He has to find the strength within himself to persevere through a personal crisis. When Superman says Krypto isn't a good dog, but he's somewhere alone and afraid, and that's why he has to help him, you feel the weight of his compassion. Superman is the guy who isn't immune to pain and confusion, but has the power to rescue others from it. In this movie, Superman's now iconic speech about his own humanity is effectively no different than the best Star-Lord line in the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy.
I screw up all the time, but that is being human, and that's my greatest strength.
If you kill me, you'll be just like everybody else.
What's so wrong with that?
We all inherited this mess that made messes of each and every one of us, and that's the defining characteristic of the human experience. No character represents what James Gunn is so good at doing more than Peacemaker.
I cherish peace with all my heart. I don't care how many men, women, and children I need to kill to get it.
Christopher Smith, played perfectly by John Cena, was a fantastic character in the Suicide Squad for how comedically terrible he was. The majority of the movie makes you laugh at how little self-awareness this absolute clown has while killing and spouting off about peace and liberty. Then it cleverly positions him into being the villain, dead set on following orders regardless of the cost. By the end, he's an utterly loathsome presence. He's willing to aid the government cover-up, he's willing to shoot Ratcatcher, he killed Rick Flag. Gunn makes his defeat so satisfying. When that post-credit scene played back in 2021, teasing the Peacemaker TV show, I admittedly groaned. Oh wow, another pointless spin-off show, and focusing on the worst guy from the movie too. And then season 1 came out. I hit a moment of disbelief when I saw the intro to season 1, when I queued up that first episode. To be presented with this character that James Gunn put so much effort into making us hate, dancing to some corny rock song with the rest of the cast, all completely stone-faced. No other show would dare to attempt something so brazen and ridiculous right out of the gate, let alone when the audience is already primed to be against the show. It was a truly significant and effective break from the expectation of this being another prestige TV production. James Gunn was not trying to make the next Daredevil, he was making Peacemaker, goddammit. The humor, the violence, the crudeness is cranked all the way up, but it once again invites us to understand a person who is easy to hate. The moment that cemented this show as something wonderful to me, what fully turned me to loving the character, was the House of Pain sequence in episode 4. Christopher Smith's emotions are swirling, he's feeling through the music. The moment allows us to enter his heart along with the music as we see this horrible moment of cruelty and trauma from his childhood. It puts his warped sense of justice and heroism into perspective. And as the moment reaches a crescendo, we get reminded of those 4 words that have surely played in his mind over and over. The moment that has hung over the entire concept of the show rings out once again.
Peacemaker. What a joke.
The show Peacemaker turned out to be such a strong showcase of how much command Gunn has over character writing and getting the audience to get on board with his narrative. He clearly understands the fact that no matter how stylized a movie or a show is, no matter how insane the lore or plot is, as long as the characters' emotions are believable and engaging, people will show up for it. People will always suspend their disbelief if they get something in return. That is why I love that he's in charge of DC Studios now. It's still early in the game, but I love the direction he's moved things in. His repeated spoken commitment to only doing projects based on the strength of the script, allowing stuff to get made that would have never had a chance otherwise, such as Clayface, or just ensuring quality, or at least purpose for the story existing is maintained. It goes to show how horribly overcomplicated Marvel has made production for themselves with their transparent scrambling to win back popularity after their messy track record post-Endgame. It is an example I hope the rest of the industry follows. He's down to earth, he's in touch with what makes a good story, he cares about what he makes and what those around him makes. James Gunn, he just gets it, man. I don't know what to tell you. Title of the video, James Gunn just gets it. Oh god, I'm too tall. Shit. God, don't you hate talking to short people? Thank you so much for watching. I've been all over the place with making videos lately. It's been a strange month, but I really enjoyed making this video. I made a video about the Superman movie and Superman as a character as a whole. I can't be bending my knees like this. Jeez Louise. Oh god, that's worse. That's so much worse. What was I saying? Superman as a character. I did a video on that. Check it out. I made a video about superhero movies a while back. Check that out. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment below and be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons. That always helps a lot. Follow me on Letterboxd. I post everything I watch there. Follow me on Instagram. I do photography over there sometimes. I just generally post updates about videos mostly though. And let me know what you think about James Gunn. Let me know what you think about the overall direction of DC and the overall state of comic book movies at this moment. I meant to see Fantastic Four when it was in theaters around me and I just right over my head. It's been a really exciting year for movies, honestly, and I just love so much that DC gets to be a part of that fun, because I don't know what the fuck the other guys are doing. This has been a Damien and Films production. Thank you so much for watching. Have you seen this man?